Hello, good morning, and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one-stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. Welcome to the daily Hindu news analysis dated 1st December 2024. And this is a list of the articles that I'll be covering in today's discussion. Just to make the discussion much more comprehensive and to cover all the bases, that is all the subjects which are relevant for the civil services examination, I've covered not only the articles from Hindu newspaper, which are basically provided in white, let's say the headings. I've also covered articles from Indian Express as well as Hindustan Times. So totally, we will be covering 11 articles in today's discussion. Now, the objective of this, again, just to reiterate, is to ensure that all the subjects related to which the articles have appeared in today's newspapers are covered. If you like this initiative, as well as many other initiatives that we are taking for you, the learners, do hit the like button. And if you get to subscribe to the Unacademy IAS YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Before I start the discussion, here is a very important announcement. We have launched the pure English batch, that is Ignite, for the students appearing for 2026 and 27. We also have a English batch by the name of Agaz and one more English batch by the name of Arambh. If you join these classroom programs, the online classroom programs, you will get access to mentorship services. You will get access to all the other program classes as well, that is either in purely English or Hindi or let's say the Hindi batches as well. And you will also get access to the prelims as well as the mains test series. If you're interested, please do call on the number provided here, or you can check the link provided in the description below. Now, let me start with the discussion. The first very important article that I want to discuss is the probable deadlock that might happen in the plastic pollution talks. Very recently, we have come across the UNFCCC discussion, that is United Nations, the Climate Change Convention talks. After that got over, at the place Busan is in South Korea. Now there is one more talk, negotiation, or let's say the conference that is happening to basically address the issue of plastic pollution or the production and the management of plastic and its impact on the let's say the water bodies as well. Now, what are the important points in this? Let's try and understand. The plastic as such has become part and parcel of our day-to-day lives. That is, from let's say a pen that we use, from the earphones that we use to listen to, let's say, the lecture right now, or even the cups that we use, multiple products have a component of plastic being used. But the problem is, whenever you manufacture a plastic and you basically throw it away, the management of plastic has become a big issue. Because according to many of the experts, most of the plastic that we use in the products that we consume on day-to-day basis, be it a wrapper of, let's say, a biscuit packet, be it a bottle, plastic bottle, or be it, let's say, any other form of a plastic that we use, we basically dump it away. And according to various experts, more than 90% or around 90% of the plastic that we use, we do not recycle it. Only around 10% of the plastic, that we are consuming today. And when I use consuming, please don't misunderstand the term consuming here. In economic parlance or in economic terms, consumption doesn't mean literally eating. It doesn't mean literally eating. Consumption means usage. So only 10% of the plastic that we consume, we recycle it. What about the remaining 90%? Remaining 90% of the plastic, we simply throw it away, which basically falls into a landfill or is burnt or is dumped into seawater. According to various estimates, around 2,000 garbage truck worth or around 2,000 garbage truck quantity of plastic is dumped into seas on day-to-day basis. That is to the extent of pollution that we are causing, not only on the land, but also in the seas as well. In other case, when we burn the plastic, what generally happens is, it will cause a lot of emissions, and the burning of the plastic will also contribute to, right, let's say, change in the climate. According to the estimates provided, around 3.6% of total greenhouse gas emissions, GHG, around 3.6% of the greenhouse gas emissions are contributed because of the plastic burning itself. And in case of the production of plastic and consumption of plastic, here are certain important points. The production and consumption of plastic has kept on increasing over a period of time. According to one estimate, in the last 30 years itself, the production, consumption, and even the export of plastic has almost quadrupled. It has almost quadrupled in the last 30 years. And by 2050, the production and, let's say, the contribution to the environmental change or the climate change from the usage of plastic is expected to further increase. It is not expected to come down. It is expected to further increase. So this, the idea of a plastic or the concept of a plastic is not just a problem environmentally, but is also a problem for the health of the people. For example, there is a presence of microplastics. There's a presence of microplastics in many of the foods that we consume. In case of the seafood, many of the scientific the studies that they have been done, they have shown that there is certain amount of microplastics which is present in the seafood that is consumed by the humans. And in many cases, it has been found that the plastic has been found even at the level of placenta as well. So many experts, backed by the scientists and even the Greenpeace NGO, has been calling for certain policy to control the production, usage, as well as, right, let's say, the waste management of plastic over a period of time. And that is the precise reason the United Nations Environment Policy, the UNEP, the part of United Nations, back in the year 2022, started negotiating how can we address the issue of plastics. And they decided that by the end of 2024, we want to have a policy to address the production as well as management of plastic. And regarding that only, now the negotiations or the talks are happening at Busan, South Korea. Now, what is the argument here? There are multiple groups which have formed within this particular, the multilateral meeting, where more than 170 countries and including all the members put together, more than 200 representatives are negotiating. And various experts are saying there may not be a positive outcome which is acceptable to all the parties in the conference that is taking place right now in South Korea. Why? What is the issue? What is the matter? Why we are not able to come to a consensus, an agreement which is acceptable to all the member countries? Reason is that some of the groups of countries believe that the problem with plastic is not the production, but basically the waste management. Listen to me very carefully. Some of the groups of countries or the member countries who have formed a group, they believe that the problem with the plastic is not that we are producing more, but it is more of a waste management problem. We are not able to manage the waste of plastic properly, and that is contributing to pollution. So what should be done? There should be more reforms or conditions where we will impose more stringent policies to promote waste management of plastic. On the contrary, there is one more group of countries which argue that no, we are producing too much of plastic. From everyday consumption products, we are using a lot of plastic, and the production and export of plastic is very, very high. Why not impose controls or let's say regulatory policies at the point of production itself, so that if production is controlled, usage will be controlled. If the usage is controlled, automatically the waste management also can be managed in a much more effective manner. In this regard, one of the countries that is opposed to any kind of a text which will impose the restrictions or strict conditions on production of plastic is India itself. I hope you understand this. It is India. This is one of the countries, by the way, not the only country. The argument from Indian side is very simple. We have an industry which is thriving, which is producing lot of plastics. Again, when I say plastics, the raw material, polymers, which are used for manufacturing of plastic. We are not the major exporters. If you look at the major exporters around the world, the three countries which are major exporters are China, Germany, and USA. China, Germany, and United States of America. According to the latest figures, these three countries put together account for over 33% of the global trade in the plastics. More than 33% of the global trade in the plastics is accounted by these three countries. So the argument of many of the countries is, do not try to impose very strict regulations on the production of raw materials such as polymers which are used in the manufacturing of plastics. But the argument of other countries is, no, we should impose restrictions throughout the whole chain of the events. That is at the production stage, at export and import stage, as well as even how do we manage the waste of the plastic. And that has actually led to multiple frictions in the conference. And many experts are saying, because of this grouping, what might happen is, on the last day, when the text is ready, when the, let's say conference text is ready, before we adopt the text, what might happen is the countries might call for voting. The countries, within UNEP might call for voting, which is generally not the practice within the United Nations and the UNEP policy. They do not go for voting. They generally accept through consensus. Is the argument okay with all of you? They generally go through consensus model, but there is a concern that on the last day, they might call for a voting where the frictions between multiple groups of countries will be very much visible, and this might even hamper the adoption and the implementation of the proposal, because if you call for voting, many of the countries might simply stay away, or let's say take a call against what their view was in the earlier negotiations. Right, so these are certain very important points regarding the deadlock that is expected in the intergovernmental negotiating committee that is negotiating at Busan regarding the plastic pollution. Right, so these are certain important points. Please be very careful. Now, regarding this, I've given an MCQ. Consider the following statements. UNEP was established in 1972. India has abolished single plastic usage from 2022. UNEP is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. How many of the statements are true? Let me know in the chat section. If you do not know the answer, hold on. I'll discuss the answer when I take up the discussion at the end. I've also given a practice for mains answer writing. Discuss the environmental, health and socio-economic impact of the widespread use and abuse of plastics. Also, discuss the challenges faced in the managing of the plastic waste. 15 marker, 250 words. A practice question. Now, let me go to the next article. Electric vehicles and carbon emissions. This article has appeared in today's Indian Express, but I feel this is a very, very important article for you. Why? The government of India has implemented multiple policies, multiple measures to promote consumption of electric vehicles. This is point number one. Multiple policies have been implemented. For example, we have Electronic Mobility Promotion Scheme, EMPS. We had FAME-1 initiative, FAME-2 initiative, etc. So, multiple policies have been implemented by Government of India to promote more and more production and consumption of electric vehicles. But the contention here is, although we are promoting consumption of EVs, the green nature of the EVs, that is overall how much benefit we are able to get from the production and consumption of EVs, is wrongly calculated, wrongly assumed in India. Why do I say it is wrongly assumed in India? Just because you produce EVs and consume EVs doesn't mean you are not causing emissions because of that in the market, or let's say to the environment. Generally, we assume that because we are using electric vehicles, no pollution is being caused. But if you look at the overall production, supply and consumption, I'll repeat the statement. If you look at the overall supply chain, that is the production, that is the stage number 1, and then the consumption of the electric vehicles, there is an argument that we are contributing to the emissions. And before you start typing how can we contribute to emissions? For example, let's say there is a particular part which has been manufactured, which will be used as a component in the electric vehicle. What if to manufacture this particular part, we have, right, let's say, caused certain emissions to the environment? We have, right, let's say, caused certain emissions in the process of producing this spare part or an input which will be used for manufacturing of electric vehicle. So at production stage, think of this, at the production stage of the EV, is there a possibility of causing emissions? Of course, yes. Embedded emissions. These are embedded emissions. That is, in the whole process, these are embedded already. Second, when you consume the electric vehicles, that is, let's say you ride the electric vehicle, either two-wheeler or a four-wheeler, doesn't matter. You have used the electric vehicle. Now you want to recharge the electric vehicle. You will take the electricity supply, you will, right, just plug in. What if the electricity that you are providing or you are using for recharging of the vehicle was produced through coal? Think of it. What if it was produced through burning of coal, that is thermal energy? So don't you think when you burn coal to produce electricity, which you are using to recharge your vehicle, by burning coal, you are again causing emissions? So there is this argument that we have not been able to leverage the complete benefit of EVs because of these kind of problems in the whole supply chain as well as consumption of electric vehicles. Now, what is the solution to that then? What is the solution? According to a study that has been conducted by an agency, please remember this, CSEP, Center for Social and Economic Progress. Center for Social and Economic Progress, they argue that, or this paper argues that, rather than recharging of these electronic vehicles or electric vehicles, which is generally done in India during night time or after evenings, we will have to shift to recharging of the electric vehicles during daytime. Understand the argument here? The paper simply says, or the survey says that, if you can recharge the EVs during daytime rather than recharging them during the evening or during night, we can save more and more carbon emission. We will reduce the carbon emissions. How much? The carbon emissions, according to the survey which is provided here, can be reduced by 10 percentage points. By 10%, we can reduce the CO2 per vehicle which is emitted because of charging during the evening or post-evening than in the if you prepone it to daytime. Now, some of you might be thinking, sir, why do people recharge in the evening or in the night? Why not during daytime? There are multiple reasons. For example, if I've taken my, let's say, two-wheeler electric vehicle to office or to, let's say, mall or to any other place, there may not be a charging station available at the place where I'm visiting. I hope you understand this. I cannot keep on searching for a EV recharge point. If I'm visiting a particular place, if it is there only in that place, I will use the facility. Otherwise, what will I do? I will not keep on searching because the battery will be sufficient. I will go back to my home and then put it for recharging. And in many cases, the facilities are there, but the number of, let's say the kiosk or number of recharge points are very limited. I don't have a place to plug in my vehicle. I'll again take the vehicle back to my home and use it for recharging in the evening or in the night when I reach the home. And the third problem in case of India that we face, understand this, is a concept of a duck curve problem. I'm connecting it to current affairs. Listen to me very carefully. The third problem that we face is called as a duck curve problem. And if you can see the picture here, the picture represents multiple graphs or let's say lines. Some of the lines represent what is the demand for electricity and some of the lines represent what is the supply of electricity during multiple hours or different hours throughout the day. And the shape of the lines, just observe the movement of the lines, the graphical representation, the shape of the lines move in such a way that overall the picture looks like a duck. Is everybody able to see? Overall, the picture looks like a duck. I know some of you simply says, no sir, it doesn't look like a duck. But can you see a duck which has been drawn in the picture or in the graph there? This is called as a duck curve problem. But what is the problem here? What you should observe? Because of the various economic activities that has happened in India over a period of time, not just in India, in many other countries as well, the demand for the electricity during the evening time and the night time is very high in India. Because let's say we are using a lot of electronic products. We are using ACs, right? Refrigerators, TVs, PlayStations, mixer, grinder, etc. During evening time, the demand for the electricity is very, very high. But on the other hand, if you want to supply electricity that is produced through renewable sources, that is not possible during evening time. And we do not have sufficient storage capacity as well. So the gap between how much is the demand for electricity and how much of the electricity through renewable energy sources can be supplied will move in such a way that the overall picture looks like a duck. And this is called as a duck curve problem. I hope all of you have understood. Please do let me know in the chat section. This is called as a duck curve problem. And one of the reasons why we are not able to ensure that all the electric vehicles are recharged during daytime is availability of electricity. You want to shift away from coal and use, let's say, renewable energy to supply electricity which will be used for recharging of a two-wheeler. But the supply during this time has to be ensured that it is available throughout the day. It is generally available or the demand is higher during evening time, and that causes lot of pressure on availability and supply of renewable energy during evening time as well as higher capacity during daytime. So these are some of the reasons why we need to have a relook at the policy here. Ensure that the vehicles are more and more recharged during daytime so that the usage of electricity which is thermally produced during the evening, which is available, readily available, reliance will come down and usage of such electricity will also come down. Done? So this is the gist of the article provided here. Daytime charging of electric vehicles can cut carbon emissions by 10%. You can use this data or let's say survey to write an answer either in GS paper 3, economics paper or even ecology paper as well or ecology part as well. Right? So this is one more article. Now be very careful with respect to these concepts. Next one, noise pollution. Third article which is there in Hindu newspaper, loud noise and the heavy toll on ears. Very recently we celebrated lot of festivals in India. Correct? Very recently. And during the festivals, one of the discussion will be surrounding, should we even celebrate the festivals by burning crackers? Should we burn crackers? That has been one of the points of discussion. Now again, whether you are for it or against it, Supreme Court of India has ruled in favor of green crackers. Now the article goes beyond the issue of green crackers. Listen to me carefully. Whenever you talk about crackers, you generally associate crackers with pollution. Correct? You associate crackers with pollution. Now the author simply says, why do we always talk about pollution angle only? Why not? Why not associate the burning of crackers with noise pollution? And when I say pollution earlier, it was about air pollution. We associate the burning of crackers with air pollution. But when you burn crackers, loud noise will be created. Why not talk about noise pollution as well? Why not associate that with noise pollution? Right? So, argument which has been put forward is very simple. We need to focus on noise pollution as well. And the author simply says, it's not just that only burning of crackers will lead to noise pollution. There are multiple other aspects also which we will look at one after other. Now listen to me carefully. Point number one, whenever we talk about, let's say, listening or hearing, the ears, right, the human ears are basically receiving multiple types of sounds. And sound is measured in the form of decibels. That is, basically we measure the intensity of the sound by using a measure or an indicator called as a decibel. In short, this is also written as dB. The human ear can detect a sound of 0 dB, 0 decibel, and the maximum that it can hear is 120 to 130 decibel. Right, 120 to 130. But much more importantly, some of you will simply say, but sir, there are many sounds above 120 decibel or 130 decibel, which I can hear. You can hear, but the problem is they can harm your ear rather than, right, providing any kind of a benefit. The argument is the structure of the ear is done in such a way that basically the sound, right, basically sound travels in a waveform. The wave will carry the energy or intensity. And when the wave will touch your eardrum, there are, right, let's say hairs on this. When it will hit the eardrum, certain, right, vibrations are created. These vibrations are converted into messages which are transmitted to your brain. That is generally how the ear actually functions. Now, if the sound intensity keeps on increasing, it can cause more harm or more damage to your ear. And that is what is being discussed in the article here. If you whisper, the author says, the decibel will be around 30. If you burn a cracker, the decibel will be more than 140. The sound intensity will be more than 140 decibel. So when you keep on burning crackers one after the other, the amount of sound that will be created, the intensity of the sound will be very high. And if you keep on hearing that particular intensity of the sound, there might be a damage to your ear itself. Right, so this is one very important point which is mentioned in the article. And again, do not make the argument a political argument. Do not connect it to any kind of a religion. Author simply says higher intensity of the sound whenever the cracker is fired or cracker is bursted during any festival can cause ear damage. That should be your viewpoint. Okay, this is point number one. Point number two. There is also a very interesting term which has been mentioned in the article. There is a very interesting term, right? What is this particular term? Tinnitus. Okay, tinnitus. What is this tinnitus? It essentially refers to a kind of a sound that you feel it is there, but in reality there is no sound. Just to give you one example, I'm pretty sure a lot of you would have seen in movies where the hero will hit the villain. He will slap the villain very hard and suddenly the ears of the villain will start ringing. And many of the times when you hear a very loud noise or a loud sound, after certain seconds, your ear will also be ringing like this. So there is a kind of a sound which you feel it is there, but it is not there. That kind of a feeling where you feel like there is a sound which you are hearing, this is called as a tinnitus. And the author simply says, if the cracker bursting is very loud or the noise is very loud, especially when the children are around, children are in the vicinity, there is a possibility of their ear being damaged. And even the people above a certain age will also feel this kind of a ringing sound, or they will hear a ringing sound in which in reality is not there. And this is called as, right, the tinnitus. Okay, and this is because of damage that has been caused on the hair cells, which are supposed to vibrate and send a signal. So this is the second very important point which is mentioned in the article. Third, before you jump into the comment section and simply say, sir, why are you targeting only the crackers? Not just the crackers, because crackers are burst during festivals. What about the day-to-day events, day-to-day operations or economic activity that can cause, right, let's say this kind of a problem? For example, what about the traffic? On day-to-day basis, when people are standing in, let's say, the signal opens and everybody will start, right, honking their, let's say, the horns. As a result of which, the sound which will be caused, or the intensity of a sound that suddenly will arise at a particular juncture or at a particular junction will also be very high. In fact, a survey was conducted where multiple traffic personnel were studied, because these people are on day-to-day basis standing in the traffic, managing the traffic. They will keep on getting the experience of listening to a lot of sound or horns, etc. When the survey was conducted, it was seen that a lot of these traffic policemen suffered because of loud noise, the intensity of that hitting their eardrums continuously or the hairs continuously in the ear, which is damaging them, right? Which is damaging their ear. That is basically the problem that has been mentioned here. So again, I reiterate, we generally focus on bursting of firecrackers. Yes, that might damage your ear. The author talks about what is the intensity of the firecrackers, etc. We need to focus on that. We need to focus on, right, tinnitus also. We need to focus on the day-to-day economic activities that are causing lot of pollution, that is specifically noise pollution. The reason that I've taken this article, again, this has appeared in Hindu newspaper. The only reason that I've taken is a lot of you, including many other aspirants, would be focusing only on the air pollution because of what is happening in Delhi. The stubble burning argument, etc., etc. You will only read about air pollution. There is no guarantee that the UPSC will ask you questions only on air pollution. They might ask a question even on noise pollution. Right? That's a reason. Please be very careful. You can use all of these particular points to write about the noise pollution. Now, finally, what is the solution? What should be the solution? The author argues that whenever people, I'll include other recommendations as well. Author argues that whenever there is, let's say, certain festivals happening, you're traveling in, let's say, a busy junction, etc., you can use earplugs. You can use earplugs essentially to reduce the intensity of the sound that your ear is receiving. That is first. Second, but many experts argue that even using earplugs might harm the ear. How so? Whenever you use a earplug, for example, you must have seen in airports, whenever the people who are operating at the ground level, they need to park a particular plane at a particular position. They'll be wearing earplugs because the sound will be very, very high. Argument of many of the experts is that, or even doctors, is that if you use earplugs continuously for a longer duration, the wax which is present in your ear might be pushed back. And wax plays a very important role in protecting the integrity, or let's say, protecting the hygiene of the ear itself. So that is one concern which has been raised. Dharani is saying, explain about green crackers. My dear, green crackers as a process is very less polluting. Compared to the normal crackers, the chemicals used, etc. is lesser. The terms of pollution is also much, much lesser. Okay, done. So these are certain points which have been mentioned in the article regarding noise pollution. Be very careful. Again, just to reiterate the point, most of you will focus on air pollution. UPSC can ask you question on noise pollution as well. Okay, so MCQ 37, consider the following statements. Humans can hear 0 decibel sound. Decibel measures amplitude and the frequency of the sound waves. First statement is very, very straightforward. Second statement is slightly tricky. If you know the answer, do let me know in the chat section. If not, I will tell you the answer when I take up the discussion at the end. Okay, third article. Odisha accuses West Bengal government of playing politics over potato. What are the issues? Let's understand the discussion here. Listen to me carefully. Potato is a vegetable, is a product which is consumed, agriculture product which is consumed on day-to-day basis. There are multiple states where potato is consumed as a staple on everyday or in everyday food consumption. But in case of production of potato, there is no, let's say, uniform production throughout India. The discussion that is happening here is between two states. One is West Bengal and the other one is Odisha. What are the arguments? Listen to me carefully. In case of Odisha, in the state of Odisha, the annual consumption of potato is somewhere in the range of 3 lakh million tons. Sorry, the consumption is around 13 lakh million tons. Whereas the production in Odisha is somewhere in the range of 3 lakh million tons. Just over 3 lakh million tons. Which essentially means there is a huge dependence on import of potato. Very simple. Okay, you need to import potato. So from where does Odisha import potato? It imports from many of the neighboring states. Now they want to import even from Punjab as well. So the state which is neighboring to Odisha, that is West Bengal, is one of the largest producer. I repeat, one of the largest producer of potato in India. West Bengal accounts for around 23% of the total potatoes produced. Around 23%. Which is the largest producer of potato? It has to be Uttar Pradesh. Remember all of these points. Uttar Pradesh accounts for majority of production of potato. According to a survey that was conducted back in 2022, Uttar Pradesh accounts for around 29% of the overall potato production. So UP leads the pack. It's the highest producing state in terms of potato. Second highest is West Bengal. Now, because West Bengal is one of the highest producing states, they export in the sense from one state to another state. They move a lot of these potatoes from West Bengal, bring it into the market of Odisha, introduce here and sell it. And because there is a huge demand for the potatoes in Odisha, they will readily allow these potatoes to come and to be sold in the market. Now, what has happened is, in West Bengal this year, there is unseasonal rainfall. There is unseasonal rainfall. And because there is unseasonal rainfall, the production of potato in West Bengal has been affected. The production of potatoes has been affected. Now, the concern is that when the production of potato goes down because of unseasonal rainfall, the demand will continue to exist in the market. This might hamper, this might destabilize the supply and demand, and prices in West Bengal might start increasing. Simple. Okay, prices in WB, West Bengal, might start increasing. In order to basically overcome this issue, the Chief Minister of West Bengal has ordered now that the potatoes which are produced in West Bengal shall not be moved to other state and sold in other state. Whatever is produced has to be sold only in WB now. You cannot move the potatoes which are produced in West Bengal to Odisha and sell it in Odisha. This is not the first time that this has been done. Earlier in the year, this is the same thing, or the policy was implemented by West Bengal. Now, when such kind of a policy is implemented, you will not be able to move the potatoes into Odisha. Supply becomes lesser, and as a result of this, the prices of potatoes in Odisha will start increasing. And because it is a staple food consumed on day-to-day basis, there is existing demand, very, very high demand. So the prices of potatoes in Odisha have started increasing, and that has put a lot of pressure on government. And it has put a lot of pressure on the government. So now the Odisha government is arguing that the West Bengal government is simply using this as a political tool. Because obviously, I'm pretty sure all of you know this, or most of you know this. The political party which has formed the government in Odisha is different compared to political party which has formed the government in West Bengal. So basically, this argument is they are using potato to destabilize the market, to increase the price levels in the Odisha market, which will hurt common man, which will hurt Aam Admi. And the government of Odisha now says, in that case, we are not dependent on potatoes coming from the West Bengal now. What we will start doing is, we'll start importing potatoes from other states, such as other neighboring states, even from Punjab, we'll start bringing in potatoes and selling it in the domestic market, that is in the Odisha market. So that is essentially what has been provided in the article here. The price levels are given. Do not memorize the price levels. They'll say prices have increased from 33 rupees to 45 rupees, from 45 rupees to 50 rupees. Do not worry about the pricing. Simply understand the basics behind it and the importance of this newspaper article. Done? Right. So these are certain important points regarding the politics, or let's say the accusation of the Odisha government regarding the West Bengal government policies. And to very great extent, please understand, the whole market is Indian market, right? I hope you understand. Whether it is West Bengal government or West Bengal market or Odisha market, doesn't matter. The whole market is Indian market. We should allow free flow of agriculture commodities from one state to another state. And if you're wondering, sir, why should I allow? My dear, this is nothing new. I hope you understand, this is nothing new. For example, Government of India under the NFSA, National Food Security Act, which is implemented through Food Corporation of India, it moves agriculture commodities from a state where production is very high to another state where production is lesser. We use the term surplus state and deficit state. That is, the production is very high in a particular state compared to the requirement, purchase more and move it into another state where the production is lesser compared to the requirement. So as such, we are practicing this kind of a movement of agriculture commodities from one state to another state, because please understand, in every state, we cannot produce all the agriculture commodities which are demanded by the people in the same state. So from one state, there will be one or the other agriculture commodity that will cross the border, enter into another state. So the argument of Odisha government is the same. It is the Indian market. Why should a state government be allowed to impose a restriction just to protect their interest, just to protect their own people? If the same thing is done by another state, if the same thing is done by another state which is exporting agriculture commodity to West Bengal, such as fish, then don't you think, right, that the West Bengal people will be suffering because of that? So there is a reliance like this. From one state to another state, commodities move, there is a reliance on it. Okay, so this kind of policy should not be implemented by the government. Okay, so that is one more article. Next article, what is the impact of charges, right? The bribery allegations that have been levied or laid on Mr. Adani and group of countries. What is the impact of these charges? A very long article is given in a center page. I do not want you to read about, let's say, the amount of bribes which are provided, who is involved, which chief minister named has been provided, whose name has been not given. Don't worry about all of it. What should be the concepts for you to focus upon, which can be asked by UPSC regarding these articles? What should be the concepts? Your focus should be on the concept, not on the allegations, not on the money, etc. So in this article which has been provided, I found three very important concepts which have been mentioned. First one is concept of external commercial borrowings. Concept of external commercial borrowing. Now, what is the idea of external commercial borrowing? Listen to me now. Indian companies which are operating in sector where FDI is allowed. I'll repeat the statement. The Indian companies which are operating in the sector where foreign direct investment is allowed can go to foreign markets and borrow from the foreign markets. They can borrow from the foreign markets, and that is called as external commercial borrowing. And if you're reading newspaper, you would have come across the concept in a different way. That is the Adani group of companies borrowing from various investors, various banks across the world. Correct? They have issued bonds outside India. They have taken loans from banks outside India to invest in various infrastructure projects. So that concept where you borrow from external market or overseas market is called as external commercial borrowings. And why this has come in the newspaper? Many of the banks, overseas lenders are re-evaluating. They are simply considering in the, let's say in the presence of multiple, let's say factual information that is flowing out, that is coming out regarding this company and many other companies, they are re-evaluating. Should they continue to partner with these companies? Should they continue to provide loans for these companies, or should they, right, basically stop providing loans? That is essentially the application of external commercial borrowing in the current affairs article. This is the first very important point. And please remember this, ECB, under ECB, you are allowed to borrow up to $1.5 trillion. Up to $1.5 trillion or equivalent value in rupees or any other currencies, you are allowed to borrow. This is the latest limit, because earlier it was limited to $750 billion. Earlier it was limited to 750, now it has been made to $1.5 trillion. Right? This is point number one. Point number two, various credit rating agencies have looked at the situation and they've changed the outlook on the credit rating from stable to negative. Remember this, various credit rating agencies have changed their outlook from stable to negative for many of the companies which are part of Adani group of enterprises. Now, what is the term outlook here? What does it mean? Credit rating simply is a representation of a credit worthiness of a borrower, either in the form of simply alphabets or combination of alphabets and numbers. I'll repeat the statement. What is a credit rating? It is a representation of credit worthiness of a borrower, either in the form of alphabets or a combination of alphabets and numbers. For example, you must have seen certain credit rating agencies providing triple B, triple A, etc. as a credit rating. At the same time, you must also have seen many rating agencies providing rating in the combination of both alphabets and numbers. For example, BAA2, BAA3, etc. So it is either only alphabets or combination of alphabets plus numbers, which is representing credit worthiness of a borrower. Now, in addition to the credit rating, there is also something provided which is called as outlook. This is called as credit rating outlook. And what is the importance of the term outlook? The credit rating outlook will provide what can be the potential future movement in the credit rating. Is my statement clear? I'll repeat it again. What does the term outlook represent? It represents what can be the future, right? Let's say after 2 months, after 6 months, what can happen to the credit rating is provided in the form of outlook, right? Outlook is a stable, outlook is a negative, outlook is positive, they will say. Stable means the credit rating agency doesn't see any change in the rating. Negative means the rating agency is seeing a possible reduction in the rating or a downgrading in the rating. So many of these credit rating agencies have changed the outlook from the stable to negative. Please remember this particular term as well. Third one is, there are certain questions which have been raised regarding the renewable energy targets which have been set up by Government of India. And when I say certain questions regarding the target, now with these companies, right, the allegation is simple here. The company has paid bribes, they have paid bribes, corruption, to get, right, let's say certain benefits, that is in the form of contracts. So if Government of India has set up a target of reaching 500 gigawatts, and out of 500 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030, a large chunk of it is in the form of solar itself. So the controversy that has erupted now involves the solar energy projects. So what will happen to the purchasing agreements? There's a term called as power purchasing agreements, PPAs, power purchase agreements that might be entered or that have been entered by multiple corporates or private sector companies with state discoms. Many of the state discoms, they might enter initially, but they will not purchase electricity. They will not make payments. So there is already a concern over the power purchase agreements or PPAs. In a nutshell, PPAs represent supply of electricity, and for this payment being done, and this contract is for certain time period. This is called as power purchase agreement. So question marks have been raised regarding various PPAs, functioning of discoms. What will happen because of this kind of a revelation on the renewable energy target which has been set up by Government of India, that is 500 gigawatts by 2030. So these are certain important concepts that have been mentioned in the article. Again, I'll repeat this. Do not run behind the bribe issue. Focus on the concepts mentioned in the article. Okay, next article, sickle cell anemia. Okay, sickle cell anemia. A hospital in Cuttack is expected to be set up as a one-stop center. It is expected to be set up as a one-stop center. Now, what are the important points? Let's understand them. Point number one, there is a condition called as a sickle cell anemia. That is, if you look at, right, let's say I'll just enter into certain parts of biology, you also listen, because questions have been asked earlier, can be asked again because of this kind of a newspaper article. When you look at the blood, there are multiple types of cells in the blood. There is one type of a cell which is called as a red blood cell, RBC. Right? Basically, blood will have RBC, WBC and platelets and plasma. Okay. So, RBC, WBC. Focus on the RBC here. So, the red blood cells, through genetic, right, let's say through genetic or hereditary material, there is a condition which can be caused, which will have an impact on the functioning of RBCs. This is called as sickle cell anemia. SCA, sickle cell anemia. Now, what happens in a sickle cell anemia? The red blood cells or RBCs, which are supposed to be a lens-based or similar to a lens like this or a concave-based, will become like a sickle cell. That is, rather than being a shape of like this, they will take a shape of, right, this nature, crescent moon, or let's say, right, any other, any other tool you want to remember with this as. So, rather than being in a shape like this, they will take a shape of sickle, right? Sickle and a tool which is used in agriculture. This is called as a sickle cell anemia. And what happens because of this kind of a situation? Whenever the blood has to, right, basically move through the veins, blood will move through the veins. Because of the sickle cell, the blood vessels, in the blood vessels, there can be obstruction. Imagine this is a blood cell. Right, and this moves branches like this. The sickle cells or RBCs, because of this kind of a structure, might get accumulated, stuck up, right, at this particular position or in this place. And imagine this vessel will go to many other organs in human body. So the organs will start suffering. Right, the supply of oxygen would be obstructed. There will be a lot of pains, body pains, which will be happening because of the condition called as a sickle cell anemia. This is point number one. Point number two, Government of India has already launched an initiative. The name of the initiative is National Sickle Cell Anemia Elimination Mission. National Sickle Cell Anemia Elimination Mission. And according to this mission, by 2047, we want to address and eliminate the issue of we want to address and eliminate sickle cell problems by 2047. And for this, the government simply says, we have allocated a huge amount of money in 2023 as well. Using the funds, we were able to treat so many people. Data is provided. Do not memorize it, because by next year, the data would have already been changed. But what is the point here? What is the discussion that is happening in the article apart from this? The government of India has targeted one particular hospital in the state of Odisha. Okay, they have targeted one hospital and they want to develop this hospital, that is the Cuttack hospital, as a one-stop center for treatment of sickle cell anemia. And some of you might be thinking, sir, why targeting only one hospital here? And why Odisha only? Why not other states? Some of you will simply say, sir, we are from southern part of India. Set up here also. Some of you will say, sir, we are from the eastern part of India or northern part of India. Set up here also. Why specifically in Odisha? The reason is cited in the article itself. Please have a look at this. The state of Odisha leads the number of, let's say sickle cell disease patients. The state of Odisha leads in the number of sickle cell disease patients. How much? 1.8%. 1.8%. That is the number of patients out of the total population of the state of Odisha. If you look at the overall average, that is the national average is just 0.38%. The incidence of sickle cell anemia in other cases, the national average is 0.37%. Odisha is 5 times more, 5 times more compared to the national average. And another point is, the sickle cell anemia is found very much prevalent in large number of cases where we have found this is within the tribal population. And Odisha also has a large number of tribal population. Looking at all of these particular factors, now Government of India wants to set up the hospital at Cuttack, that is SCB Medical College Cuttack. SCB Medical College at Cuttack, Government of India wants to set up this one-stop center for treatment of sickle cell anemia at this particular place. And UNICEF has visited this. Government officials also have visited the hospital. In the coming days, the announcement will be done regarding this. Okay, so these are certain important points. Please remember this. An MCQ, consider the following statements regarding sickle cell anemia. India has launched a mission to eliminate the above by 2025. The nodal authority for the mission is the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. The disease affects red blood and white blood cells. How many of the statements are true? Let me know. Otherwise, I'll discuss it at the end. Don't worry. Next article, women beneficiaries to candidates. A very interesting discussion has taken place in the article. I'll tell you this. In recent times, the elections have taken place for multiple state legislative assemblies. We had elections in Madhya Pradesh. We had elections in Maharashtra very recently. We had elections even in Karnataka. What has been the observation? The women voters have turned up. That is, a lot of women voters who did not vote earlier in the elections have come to voting booth and have cast their vote. And one of the reasons, the author simply says, one of the reasons why there is a drive in the women voters is because of the government, specifically the state government policies. For example, the state of Madhya Pradesh has a scheme targeting women as beneficiaries. The state of Maharashtra has a scheme targeting women as beneficiaries. And even the state of Karnataka has schemes targeting women as beneficiaries. And because of these particular schemes, and couple of days ago, the same thing has been discussed by Chetan sir when he discussed the text and context, or let's say even editorial page, let's say argument, welfare, is it basically promoting or wooing the more and more voters and violating many of the principles? I'm not going to discuss that because the discussion has already happened. What is given in the article is very simple. No doubt, number of women voters who are voting, casting their vote has increased. And this has increased their participation and it is a good outcome. Yes. But having said so, how many number of the, let's say the MLAs, the members of state legislative assemblies, how many of them are actually women? Because the policy making, policy implementation or policy introduction is also very important. So at the decision making stage, at the table here, how many women are present? The author simply says this has actually come down. So on one side, more and more women are voting. But on the other side, how many women MLAs are there? How many of these MLAs are in a position to take a decision, right? And let's say take care of interest of the women, especially if they are women. Of course, yes, they will try to bring in more policies to protect the interest of the women. So how many of them are women? That number has actually come down. So now the discussion is, will the women remain as only the people, or let's say remain as the people getting just beneficiaries? Should we just leave it at that point, or should we promote more and more participation of women in, let's say, the legislature and increase their number so that more women will participate, win elections and make policies to protect interest of the certain sections of the society? So the argument is, there is a long way to move from just being a beneficiary to being a candidate. Because understand this, if a woman has to stand in the elections, first they need to get the tickets. They need to get a ticket from a particular political party. So the political parties which are allocating tickets should become proactive now and should allocate more and more tickets to women candidates. And not just that. Once you get a ticket, there is a whole machinery that you need to use to fight or contest elections. So we also need to ensure that the machinery that is there, that is the machinery in terms of, let's say, the assistance that is provided, right? Let's say the inputs which are given to the women candidate, etc. The whole machinery, support machinery, we have to work on that as well to ensure more and more candidates will participate and also win elections. And one policy that can actually do this, promote this kind of an outcome, is the reservation bill. It is the reservation bill, right? In fact, this is basically the Women's Reservation Act now. Women's Reservation Act. So the Women's Reservation Act, which will provide 33% or a third of total number of seats at, right, basically the Lok Sabha as well as the state level elections. This will provide reservation for women, which means more and more women candidates will participate, will contest elections, and more women will be elected, and they're expected to make policies in order to protect and promote the interest of this section of the society. So there is a long way to move from being a beneficiary to a candidate. That is a summation of the article provided here. Okay. Next, I've clubbed two articles. One is Ashtalkshmi Mahotsav, and second one is one more initiative of Government of India, where the article discusses the northeastern states, but it is for whole of India, where certain assistance has been announced by the government to promote tourism infrastructure projects. Now, what is the what are the two articles mentioning here? What are the important points that you need to understand? The eight states in the northeastern part of India. The list is provided. You don't have to worry. The 8 states which are part of northeastern, let's say part of India, northeastern states, they contribute very high in terms of, right, let's say cultural, economic activities. So Government of India in the last couple of decades has taken multiple initiatives to promote inclusion of northeastern states into the main economic activity, or let's say economic activity of main part of India. The benefits should be reaching to this particular segment of India. That's a precise reason. In the last 2 5-year plans, the focus was also on the development of northeastern region. And Government of India, in order to promote growth and development of northeastern region, has also set up, right, a separate ministry now, separate department has been set up. So the argument is, now Government of India is having a celebration or a festival which will be a 3-day festival. The name of the festival will be Ashtalkshmi Mahotsav. During this Ashtalkshmi Mahotsav, many of the products can be unique to these states, 8 states in the northeastern part of India, or many of the products which have geographical indication, which are produced, manufactured, etc. in this part of India, will be showcased and will be sold. Government says, just like the 8 avatars of Lakshmi, that is Ashtalkshmi, the same 8, right, the similar concept, that is 8 states from the northeastern region of India will be showcased in the Mahotsav. Their cultural prosperity, their economic activities, etc. will also be put on a showcase, right, will also be showcased in the Mahotsav. And what is the general outcome? Whenever such festivals are conducted or Mahotsavs are conducted, lot of interactions take place. Lot of people or lot of traders or buyers end up buying lot of the commodities which are sourced from a particular region of India now. So that is one of the expected outcomes of the Ashtalkshmi Mahotsav. Second article, boosting tourism in 8 lesser known tourist sites in 6 northeastern states. Although the article headline is focused only on the northeastern states, listen to me carefully. The Government of India very recently has announced that in multiple states, more than 20 states, more than 40 infrastructure projects related to tourism will be promoted. How so? Government of India will be providing 50-year, that is a long-term interest-free loans. The government will be providing 50-year, that is a long-term interest-free loans. And like I said, in more than 20 states, multiple projects have been identified. For example, in northeastern states, in 6 of the states, 8 projects have been identified. And the government will be providing a total for all the 20 plus states. Government will be providing a sum of around 3,300 crore. I am rounding off the number. Around 3,300 crore will be provided. This will be provided in the form of a loan. No interest shall be paid by the states, but they will have to use this money which has been allocated under the project or under the scheme to develop the infrastructure within the tourism, right? Certain tourism places in the next 2 years. In the next 2 years itself, they will have to use the money allocated to develop the infrastructure projects. So out of the 40 plus places, 8 of them are from northeastern part of India. Right, so this is one more important article related to northeastern part of India. Right, be very careful. Next one, PM-KISAN initiative. 60,000 ineligible beneficiaries in Kerala under PM-KISAN Samman Nidhi. This I have taken from Indian Express, today's edition only. What are the important points? The Government of India implemented Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi from the year 2019. Initially, the government targeted a very limited number of farmers, small and marginal farmers. Later, the scope of the scheme was expanded. It was changed to cover all the farmers who own land. It was expanded or changed to cover all the farmers who owned a piece of land. In 2022, Government of India issued a notification to all the states asking them to implement the PM-KISAN Yojana by considering certain parameters, because it was seen that many of the beneficiaries who were covered under the scheme were not eligible. For example, if you are a person who is paying income taxes, who is filing income taxes, I'll repeat the statement. If I am filing income taxes to Government of India, my household shall not be covered under PM-KISAN. If a household is there which has an MP, shall not be covered. So there are multiple conditions which are imposed, eligibility criteria, multiple criterias which have been implemented by the government, and in 2022 Government of India issued a notification, asked all the states to look into the criterias and basically weed out if there are any other beneficiaries which are not eligible to be covered under this. In one of the state, that is the state of Kerala, the article, again some of you might simply say, sir, it is only from Kerala, why are you discussing? It was given in the Delhi edition of Indian Express. Delhi edition of Indian Express. And you can use this to say what are the issues or concerns regarding the implementation of schemes. For example, last week also, when I took a discussion, I took an article from, let's say, another edition where I showed to you how the schemes of Government of India can be abused in terms of implementation of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana in Tamil Nadu. Now this comes from Kerala. So here, there are more than 60,000 beneficiaries. I repeat, according to the article, there are more than 60,000 beneficiaries who are not eligible and they have received the benefits right over a period of time under PM-KISAN. So if you're thinking, sir, what will the government do in case a person is an ineligible beneficiary? Whenever a person is ineligible and they have received the benefits earlier, the department has to identify such beneficiaries, issue an order to a bank. Issue the order to the bank because the benefits are transferred through bank account. They will issue an order. Once the bank receives the order from the department, what they will do is they will simply freeze the equivalent value of amount from the bank account. For example, let's say I am one of the beneficiaries. In my bank account, 10,000 rupees is there. But I am not supposed to receive PM-KISAN, and let's say I have received 6,000 rupees. Once the bank will receive an order from the government, they will simply freeze 6,000 rupees out of the 10,000 rupees that is there in my bank account. Right? This is generally what is practiced whenever a beneficiary is ineligible or a person is ineligible but has received benefit under the scheme. So many of the banks are saying, we are yet to receive any kind of an order from the government. Yes, more than 60,000 are ineligible, but we are yet to receive the order from the government. Once we receive, we will put a freeze on certain amount within the bank accounts of these beneficiaries. And point number 2, the article also says, the state of Kerala, across India, we know that more than 46% of the working population is dependent on agriculture, working in agriculture. In case of the state of Kerala, the article simply says only around 18% of the households, right? Remember this, only around 18% of the households are deriving their livelihoods from agriculture sector. Is the point clear to you? Only around 18% of the households are deriving their livelihood from agriculture, whereas the national average is 57%. The national average is 57%. So 57% of the households at the national level are getting their livelihood from agriculture, whereas in Kerala it is much lower, only 18%. Right? So obviously the beneficiary list has to be relooked here. We will have to change the beneficiary list so that who are not eligible have to be weeded out, have to be removed. Okay. Last article, just for sake of information, factual information, World Central Kitchen has halted its operations in Gaza now. Why? This article has appeared in Hindustan Times. Listen to me carefully. There was a bombing that was conducted by Israeli forces in Gaza. And in one of the bombings, multiple people were killed. Who were traveling in a car, multiple people were killed. And out of the people who were killed in this bombing, there were workers who worked in World Central Kitchen. In the World Central Kitchen, WCK, World Central Kitchen. And what is the importance of this? World Central Kitchen is a non-governmental organization, NGO. It's an NGO which started operations from the year 2010, and this was launched by Jose Andres. Remember the name? By a chef, Jose Andres. So this person back in the year 2010 launched an NGO by the name of WCK. And what is the role of WCK? WCK, whenever there are natural disasters, whenever there is a human suffering, whenever there is a war which has broken out like this, during which a common man will suffer, they'll find it very difficult to get access to food. WCK goes to that particular region and starts providing food. They start providing food. That is the importance of WCK. And because there was an attack on the person was working in WCK and the person passed away, WCK now has said, we are not going to continue our operations in Gaza. We have put this operation on hold. This is, many experts say, this is a very bad situation and an outcome to a particular region which is already suffering. Because multiple bombings have taken place, human suffering in this region is already very high. They are finding it very difficult to get access to food. In that situation, if WCK also stops providing food, it will increase, right, the intensity of the hunger in the region. Right? And the argument of Israeli forces is that the person whom we have killed in this attack was involved, right? He was an operative of Hamas. He was involved in one more operation. That's the reason we have bombed. On the other side, WCK says, we do not have sufficient information. We have asked for information. Once they provide, we will look at the right information provided. But much more importantly, if you're wondering, sir, WCK is only limited to Gaza? Absolutely no. All of you know about Russia-Ukraine war. In Ukraine also, WCK is operating. In recent times, US elections were conducted. One of the issues during the USA elections was the immigration or let's say migration of people into USA from southern border. Even in the southern border of USA, WCK has operations. It has operations in other countries which has conducted earlier, or it has conducted operations in other countries as well. In Japan, when the earthquake hit, they had operations there. In Morocco also, they have conducted the operations. Operations in the sense, these kind of, let's say activities. So WCK, just remember the name, the founding member or the person who started it, and what are the areas, what is the importance of WCK. And now it says we will not have any operations until further orders in Gaza. So this is prelims required information that was there in Hindustan Times. I felt you should know about this. So these are the various articles that I wanted to cover. Let me answer the questions to the multiple MCQs that I have given today. MCQ 36, consider the following statements. UNEP was established in 1972. Yes, statement is true. And by the way, when was the United Nations established? Please do let me in the chat section. When was the UN established? India has abolished single plastic usage from 2022. Yes. The UNEP is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. Absolutely no. It is headquartered in Africa, right? Let's say in a place, Nairobi in Africa, not in Geneva, Switzerland. Okay, third statement is wrong. So first and two is correct. Right option is right option B. Only two of them are correct. Okay. Karan says it was established in 1949. No, my dear, 1945. 1945 United Nations. 1944. Remember this also. Bretton Woods Conference. Bretton Woods Conference. And what is the importance of Bretton Woods Conference? Bretton Woods Conference gave us two important organizations. World Trade Organization and I'm sorry, not WTO, World Bank. WTO was established in 1995. Okay, so World Bank and IMF. That's the reason these are called as Bretton Woods twins. WTO was established, again I repeat, in 1995. WB and IMF much before that as a result of Bretton Woods Conference that was conducted in 1944. And Geneva, Switzerland, the WTO has a headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland. Okay. Consider the following statements. Humans can hear 0 decibel sound. Yes, 0 to 120 to 130 decibel. That's a range. Decibel measures amplitude and frequency of the sound waves. No. Decibel measures only the amplitude of the sound waves, not the frequency. Okay. So first statement is true. Right option is option A. Only one is correct. Okay. So MCQ 38. Consider the following statements regarding sickle cell anemia. India has launched a mission to eliminate the above by 2025. No. The only reason I've given 2025. Why not anything else? 2025 is a target year to eliminate TB. Remember this. This is how you need to create linkages. Next time you come across TB, you will know that it is 2025 target year. So the target year for sickle cell anemia is 2047, not 2025. The nodal authority for implementation of the mission is the Minister of Health and Family Welfare. Yes. The disease affects red blood cells as well as white blood cells. No, it only affects the red blood cells, right? So first one is wrong, third one is wrong, second one is correct. Right option to the question will be option A, only one. Okay. So these are the various MCQs related to the articles that I've discussed. And I've also given you a descriptive question as well. If you like the initiative, do hit the like button. If you're yet to subscribe to the Unacademy IAS YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Let's meet tomorrow again, sharp at 10 a.m. Till then, take care.